Welcome back, everybody. Today I have with me Dr. Ameet Aggarwal. Dr. Ameet was voted one of the top 43 naturopathic doctors worldwide. He has helped thousands of people around the world heal from trauma, anxiety, depression, and chronic diseases by combining naturopathic and functional medicine, Gestalt Psychotherapy, family Constellation Therapy, EMDR, and Homeopathy. He wrote a best-selling book and has a free online course on his website, drameet.com, that help people heal mind and body together. You want to check it out. Dr. Ameet, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. How are you?
Thanks, Dalia. Doing good. Excited to share some emotional healing tips with everyone to release that childhood and inner trauma, as well as to heal the liver and chronic inflammation, so we can really get the best of our lives and hopefully overcome MS as well, possibly.
Yes. I got to tell you, Dr. Ameet and I connected just recently, and the moment that we were together on the screen, there was such an instant connection that this is what sometimes tell me I'm in the right place. This is so in alignment. So I'm so appreciative of you being here with me and us connecting and sharing all the amazing knowledge and experience that you have with the MS community.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And my heart is open to you, to the community as well. So I hope to channel the light in this conversation so that I can bring you from source the information that you need today.
Thank you. I want to start with you sharing with our listeners your story. What had you do what you do? What brought you here?
It was a mistake, I think. I could feel energy as a child, I think. I could remove headaches from my girlfriend at that time, a long time ago, without touching her, so energetically. And so I knew I wanted to do holistic medicine. And I'm from Kenya. I live in Kenya. And I wanted to do a medicine to help the communities. So I bumped into a naturopathic doctor, and I found out what naturopathic medicine is. And I did mobile clinics in the north of Kenya. And I wanted to do mobile clinics for the rest of my life. And so I went back to Canada to study naturopathic medicine. I didn't believe anything about psychology and emotions. I was just like a rough, tough kind of guy, you know. And I got pulled into the Gestalt Institute of Toronto, and I learned about emotional healing and trauma work, and it blew my mind. And I began combining emotional healing with naturopathic medicine. So healing the gut, the liver, which we'll talk about today, as well as, peeling away those layers, those masks that we keep on ourselves to compensate the pain and the wounds that we're carrying inside of us. And by peeling away those masks and healing those wounds and finding love again in those places, those deep, dark, secret places within us that we're afraid to share with others or show up with in life or in front of other people, I just felt better. I felt more empowered, more resilient, more activated for other people in my life. And then I started using this as a better medicine for my clients, right? Emotional shifting, homeopathy as well, to release trauma from the past. And we'll talk about how homeopathy can release trauma, also remove emotional blocks, as well as, of course, supporting the body systems by detoxifying well, by healing the liver, reducing inflammation by healing the gut. Of course, leaky gut and liver toxicity are huge contributors to chronic inflammation, which leads to degeneration in the body, oxidative damage to those myelin sheaths, those nerves in the central nervous system, contributing to MS possibly. So really healing the body from a very root cause perspective, and then healing the emotions and the traumas that was causing stress in the body, leading to furthering of oxidative damage. Yeah, so you got to heal the mind and the body together to get optimal results rather than separately. And that's what I tell everyone in the course as well.
Yeah, so I'd love to go deeper into that. How would you say that, you're saying mind. So how do you say that stress, mind, trauma from the past affects the mind and body? And how would you say that specifically it's connected to MS?
Okay, so there's something called adverse childhood experiences. It's basically childhood trauma. Trauma is often associated with rape, abuse, car accidents, but adverse childhood experiences include those as well as things like neglect. There's lots of studies that show some people with MS have higher rates of neglect during childhood compared to other people. Yeah. It could be abandonment or being in an incubator for too long, or your mom being traumatized, or seeing your parents fighting. Those are all traumas, or adverse childhood experiences. So those create a fight or flight response in your body. Yeah. And that response is handled by your adrenal system, as well as all your cells, really. Yeah. All your cells shift what they're secreting into your body to cope with that stress. And if that stress is unresolved, you basically carry the stress in your nervous system and in your body. And you also create belief systems, negative belief systems about yourself, about life, about other people, about your safety, about your self-values, your self-worth, what you deserve, what you're entitled to speak about or share, or whether you feel that you'll be listened to or not, or whether you'll be held or not. Yeah. These childhood experiences alter your perception. So you live life as a compensated person. Yeah. Sometimes as a stressed person, but you don't know that you're stressed. You're just compensated. And over time in life, then you kind of carry this programming with you. So you relive these patterns. So when you experience another stress in your adulthood, for example, your mind goes back and plays back old memories without you realizing it's doing that. So old emotions get triggered, old wounds get triggered, childhood wounds get triggered. And you're like, gosh, why are these type of people always mean to me? Or why do I act a certain way with this kind of person? Or why am I sabotaging all my relationships or unhappy all the time? And you think it's the other person, perhaps. And the funny thing is, when you heal these childhood wounds, when you unprogram this compensation and you're more available to love and also loving yourself and being comfortable with the vulnerable part of you that felt neglected and didn't want to show up again because of the shame around being neglected. For example, when you show up with all these parts of you and bring an experience of love to all these parts of you, then we begin healing those wounds. That trauma reduces. And then what happens is you come out of that fight or flight state. Yeah, your adrenal glands calm down. Your cortisol levels come more into balance. You feel less stressed by adult life experiences. Yeah, because remember, stress throws off your cortisol levels. And cortisol levels causes muscle damage, nerve damage, perpetuates inflammation, because high stress basically creates these inflammatory cytokines in your body. And as we know, if you have more inflammation in your body, you have more oxidative damage, more nerve damage, more damage to the myelin sheaths as well, and likely exacerbating or making you more vulnerable to MS, if that's your predisposition. So that's how really stress and trauma, especially if it's unresolved, can affect the mind and the body together, affecting the perception as well as your adrenal system, your cortisol levels, leading to chronic degenerative diseases. And what happens also is when your cortisol levels are off and you have this chronic inflammation going on, your gut lining becomes weaker. Yeah, we have this nice intestinal lining that keeps the bad stuff out of your body, but it becomes weaker. And we start craving certain foods, for example, and also the environment in your gut gets more damaged. So the good bacteria in your gut get damaged. So with the damage of your good bacteria and the weakening of your gut lining, you get more holes in your intestine. It's called leaky gut. With that, you have toxins leaking into your bloodstream, causing inflammation everywhere, leading cause for asthma, eczema, arthritis, weight gain, negative thinking as well. And this inflammation then also makes you more prone or more vulnerable. If you're predisposed to MS, your MS can get worse. One. Also, of course, you go into poor eating habits because you're craving certain foods that kind of match the inflammatory state. So you might crave more carbs, for example, because you're serotonin levels are decreasing. Yeah. So let me recap a bit here. Chronic inflammation messes up your cortisol levels. And also high stress messes up your cortisol levels. When your cortisol levels are messed up, your brain chemicals start dropping. Serotonin, dopamine, melatonin, and GABA, all those brain chemicals start dropping. So your mood is going to drop. You get more anxiety, depression, insomnia, etc. Then you have more fatigue. You also start craving certain foods to bring up those serotonin levels, for example. So you might go into unhealthy eating, which then damages the gut further, leading to more inflammation, more chronic disease. So by healing emotional trauma, childhood experiences, you go into a less stressed state, your hormone levels calm down, your cortisol levels calm down, your gut gets stronger, you're likely to eat healthier foods or be able to digest healthier foods. So you'll begin to reduce inflammation in your body. So you'll have less neurodegenerative diseases and other chronic illness. Yeah, so it's a back and forth relationship. And then we come to the liver, which we'll talk about soon.
Yes. It's funny. When Ameet and I got on a call today before we started recording, we just, talked about, different things, how we got to where we got and connected. And one of his questions was about my journey. And it's so interesting that my answer to you, Ameet, was almost exactly what you just shared with everybody that you experienced with people with MS, the neglect and the childhood trauma from one of my parents, from my father. It just, it's so interesting because I see so many similarities between the people that I work with that were diagnosed with MS. There's so many similarities between us, which I just want to say to you all really gives a lot of hope, because I always say, if one person could overcome it, if one person could reverse symptoms, there is no reason in the world that you cannot. So I hope when you're watching this now, you're being inspired, because
you can do it.
Exactly.
You can live a comfortable life.
Much more than comfortable. You can thrive. And if you're here watching, it's probably your time.
I like that.
Ameet, you practice family constellation. Can you share with us how do you use that to heal emotional trauma and stress?
Okay, yeah. So I combine family constellations, homeopathy, Gestalt Psychotherapy, and something called EMDR to release trauma and stress from the body. Mm-hmm. Family constellations is a practice where we look at ancestral trauma as well as imbalances in the family system. What do I mean by imbalances in the family system? So in family constellations, we have a theory where children, we as people, basically have loyalties to pain and wounds carried by our parents and our ancestors. And this loyalty that makes us carry this wound makes us suffer as well. We want to suffer together with the suffering parent. Yeah, or we want to, if somebody was excluded in our family, maybe a miscarried child or an aborted child or a neglected uncle or a suicide, a murder, whatever, and they're not talked about or acknowledged, that information is still in the field, in the family system field. And we as children or descendants or any family member pick it up. And out of an unconscious loyalty to that wounded person or that excluded person, somebody in the system has to start representing that person until it's acknowledged fully. And how do we represent those people? Through illness. Yeah, we might develop OCD symptoms, we might develop MS symptoms, chronic fatigue, stomach ulcers, anxious thoughts, schizophrenia as well, bipolar, right? They're just representing things that are not acknowledged in the system. Also, what happens is, for example, if your father was abusive to your mother, then you might take sides with your mother, yeah, for example, and reject your father out of loyalty for the weaker parent. And so you are taking on the issues of your parents in a way. You're getting entangled with their conflict. So you stop being a child, fully a child, and become like a surrogate partner to your mother or to your father, for example. And also by neglecting or rejecting your father, by taking sides with your mother, you're rejecting a source of life. Yeah, your source of life. Because also part of your source of life is your father. And that creates confusion at a very deep emotional level for a person. They feel very unsatisfied in their life. And they don't realize it's because of their loyalty to their mother and rejection or abandonment of their father. Yeah. So it's an inner conflict that manifests because you're taking over the burden of your parents. And in constellation work, we use certain healing sentences. Yeah, giving back to the parents what belongs to them to carry, because they're the big ones. And we acknowledge with respect that they're the big ones and I'm the little one, and I have no right to carry that burden, even though theoretically I feel I have every right. Yeah, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, stop violence at home and interfere if there's a lot of abuse. Do something about it, but become aware that you don't need to carry the burden for your parents, because that will create an imbalance in your entire family system as well as in your nervous system, which can lead to depression, sense of unfulfillment, loyalty to suffering people, rejection of a partner, because part of your soul is still connected, belongs to rescuing your mother. So you might feel like, gosh, my partner annoys me, or they're getting too close. I don't want that closeness. You're not available. Yeah. So by healing trauma, ancestral trauma, family entanglements, you become more emotionally resilient. So you feel less stressed. You enjoy and you thrive more in life. Yeah. And when you thrive more and you have more energy and less baggage and less negative belief systems, then I believe you'll have less neurodegenerative and chronic disease as well. Because as I explained before, how stress affects your adrenal glands, your cortisol levels, inflammatory cytokines, and degeneration inside your body. Yeah. So it's really important to heal these family entanglements by combining family constellations. I use homeopathy, of course. My online course talks a lot about different homeopathic remedies to heal trauma. They're beautiful because homeopathy does the work of like 10 therapy sessions in a way. It's very powerful. And then find somebody also use EMDR. If somebody doesn't know constellations, then you can use EMDR or even Gestalt Psychotherapy. And there's so many other techniques like emotional freedom technique. You practice beautiful coaching, I'm sure, as well. There's many therapies out there, and the field of psychotherapy is transforming every day.
This is so interesting. I'm interested in understanding, how could one realize that there is some ancestral trauma? Because it's not something like, it's not, tell me everything. So intrigued by that.
So we all have history. We all come from grandparents. Yeah. Most of the time. And our ancestors had something happen, or in their line, whether it's an abortion, miscarriage, murder, the Holocaust, depression, suicide, abandonment, everything. Yeah. And so some of us have that information already. We just don't realize that it's affected us. If your mom had an abortion or miscarriage, you just say, okay, she had one. Or some of us don't even know. And we think like we're the first child in the system. Yeah. And when you realize that you had a child, your mother had a child before you that got aborted or miscarried, and you realize, gosh, I actually belong in the second position in my family, your body calms down. I've seen this hundreds of times in practice. Your body just calms down because you understand that there's somebody before you. You understand your correct position. You acknowledge maybe your mom is mourning this dead child and she's not available to you emotionally. So you're feeling, I'm always reaching out for mom, or I'm always reaching out for love, and it's not coming. Why? Mom was suffering. And when mom can let go and say goodbye, you guys can mourn the child together as a family and acknowledge that child. And mom chooses to look at her living children and at life and her partner. The family feels a bit more synergistic. So how do we know these things? By asking, by inquiring and getting curious. And also in a constellation session, we have representatives. When I'm doing constellations online with people, I will feel things intuitively. The field gives us information right there and then. And when I'm working with people helping me, representatives, I will get representatives to represent different family members, yeah, of yours. You will choose which family member you want each representative to represent, and I will watch the behavior of each representative. The representatives will actually get information from the field. They will channel information. It happens all the time. It's an exploding therapy in Europe. Everyone's doing it now, so it's not woo-woo anymore. Governments are using it. The royal family is using it. Constellations is becoming very mainstream. Yeah. So if it sounds woo-woo that people channel, experience it for yourself and you'll see the validity of it. So I will monitor how everyone is behaving. I'll see, okay, is the mom looking down at the floor, for example? Yeah, maybe she's looking at a dead child. Is the father really angry and upset? Maybe because, he's not getting attention from the mother, or he was also rejected by his mother. It's showing up in the representatives. And I, as a therapist, because I've been trained in dynamics and all that, can observe what the dynamics is revealing that's causing the imbalance for the client, you, the listener. And by understanding the imbalance, then I will understand, or I will know what healing sentences need to be said by the mother, the father. So these are the representatives in the system. And when you hear these healing sentences being said, you as the client will get an emotional experience. You will see a shift, and you see a dynamic shift between all the representatives and in your family, really. And I will get you as well as the client to say certain healing sentences, or to hug someone, or to take in the love and support, or to feel somebody caress your head where you didn't realize that's all you wanted. Yeah. And to really feel that support in your most vulnerable place, so that your guarding can be released. We're all guarded and saying, okay, no, I don't need that, I'm blocked. You don't even realize you're blocked. You're like, I don't need that, I'm fine. And we go around life just tough, but blocked. Yeah. Until we have the right support and the right experience, really, to support the disarmoring, so the love can flow in your vulnerability, and also in those missing parts that go missing during a trauma. Yeah. Our confidence goes missing. Our connection with mom goes missing, for example, during a trauma. All those missing parts need to come together, be acknowledged, and feel the love.
This is so interesting. So it's almost like the person you work with doesn't need to do much. It's more like you manage to connect all the different parts and affect their field, their energy, what's affecting them on a regular basis.
Yes and no, because I combine Gestalt and EMDR as well. I will get the client to say certain sentences and, of course, check for validity and whether there's resonance. But yes, a lot of the work is being done by representatives, or when we're doing one-to-one online sessions, I'll feel in the field. I'll say, okay, you know what? Does this ring true? Why am I picking up that, father was away for a while and you had this gap in your life? And I'll say, I don't want to be suggestive, just see how your body responds to those words. And there'll be a movement in the body. They might feel it physiologically. So that acknowledgement is the beginning of some inner work. And then based on their response, I will pick up on what healing sentences need to be said. And so it might be simple, like the client saying, come to me this time, don't leave me alone, or I'm missing you, or, I can't find mom either. These painful places when they get to speak the truth. Yeah, truth is like resonance of what the body needs to say, not analysis. Yeah. We don't go into analysis in this work. We really go and speak those visceral body truths. When those truths are spoken, the body releases some sort of tension, because there's acknowledgement of truth, of the hidden feelings of a person. And acknowledgement itself of truth is very freeing for the nervous system of a person, and creates a huge shift in the field of a person, in the life of a person, in the outlook of a person, in the interaction a person has with other people. Because when you go through a paradigm shift, a mind shift, your personality changes. The way you think about yourself and others flips over. So suddenly it's like, oh, that person is not threatening anymore, or I have this confidence now with this person, or I don't feel so alone anymore. I feel more connected to my ancestors, my past, my family system, so I don't have to block myself because I'm scared of being vulnerable. Yeah, because I have that source energy behind me.
Incredible. So, I mean, I can relate to so many. Sorry?
It's very fun to do. Very fun.
Yeah, I actually sat here and imagine you in a whole like session. Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about the liver. You talk about the liver a lot. You talk about it in your online course, and I want to hear from you about the importance of detoxifying the liver, and also why would you say specifically for people with MS that would be important?
Okay. So I'm going to go into a bit detail how the gut, the liver, everything is connected. If you get lost, there's free videos on my website as well. Yeah, how to heal the gut, the liver, the emotions. So don't stress. Don't stress. No pun intended, but don't stress. It's all there for you. Okay. So the liver is the master organ. It detoxifies your body. It stores vitamins. It processes cholesterol. It activates your immune system. It stores iron, manages blood sugar regulation, does everything. Okay, in Chinese medicine, it's called the general or the master organ. So remember I talked about inflammation in your gut, leaky gut, toxins going everywhere, causing inflammation everywhere in your body. That inflammation creates more toxins, and your liver becomes inflamed from chronic inflammation and inundated with too many toxins from chronic inflammation, as well as from pesticides you're eating, the chemicals in the air, the medications you might be taking, all the drugs in the water as well. Our liver is working overtime. Yeah. 99% of people's liver is overwhelmed. So when your liver is overwhelmed and inflamed, guess what's happening? All those functions that I talked about are reducing. Yeah, it produces less bile for digestion, so you get more gas, bloating, constipation, and a worsening of your leaky gut, right? Because when there's not enough bile going into your gut, yeah, first of all, your poop is accumulating. You have more gas, bloating, and constipation usually. Some people get more diarrhea. So more toxins, more inflammatory damage in your gut, more leaky gut, and more chronic inflammation in your body, yeah, leading to neurodegeneration. Your hormones go out of balance. So in Chinese medicine, your liver controls your hormones a lot. So with liver stagnation, then you're going to have more PMS symptoms, yeah? So maybe lower progesterone or higher estrogen. And with lower progesterone, then we get more anxiety, insomnia, maybe migraines, things like that. That causes more fatigue, of course, in your life, more stress in your life, more vulnerability because you're not sleeping well. So your body's going to break down faster. And your recovery from MS is going to be slower, or your relapses will be more frequent. Yeah. So when you detoxify your liver well, that means your bile flows better, then your digestion will be better. So your gut will be healthier, basically. When you have the right amount of bile in your intestines, your good bacteria can thrive. And certain bile acids also kill off the bad bacteria. So you're creating more balance in your gut, restoring gut function. So therefore, less inflammation. Now, chronic inflammation also basically stimulates your adrenal glands to produce more cortisol. And if you have a lot of chronic inflammation from leaky gut as well as liver toxicity, your cortisol levels are going to become imbalanced. Your adrenal glands are going to be more stressed, so you go more into adrenal fatigue. With adrenal fatigue and cortisol imbalance, your thyroid hormones are messed up. Your thyroid conversion gets messed up. And you know that your thyroid hormones are important for every single cell in your body. Yeah, they're important for energy metabolism, very important for your mitochondrial function. And there's a lot of studies showing that with MS, there's depleted mitochondrial function, whether that's from chronic inflammation, low thyroid function, or also stress and trauma. Yeah, they're showing that basically stress and trauma alters the way ATP is metabolized in your mitochondria or produced in your mitochondria. Yeah, this is your energy chemical. So your liver is super, super important because it detoxifies all this junk in your body that's causing chronic inflammation. Yeah. Remember also your lymph, all your lymph fluid is flowing around all your cells, and your lymph is draining in certain areas. But if your liver is toxic, it's not detoxifying your blood. So your blood is more toxic. So your lymphatic system cannot drain all the toxins out well enough. Yeah, because there's some cleaning of your lymphatic system that goes on in in your liver. Also, the making of lymph happens in your liver. So also with chronic inflammation, you're triggering, in some people, autoimmune disease, yeah, because your body is hyper responsive to inflammation and to immune triggers. And in some studies or some schools of thought, they're thinking MS is connected to autoimmune disease as well. So we want to reduce chronic inflammation and chronic stress, of course, and heal childhood trauma. And to heal chronic inflammation, you want to heal the gut and make sure you detoxify the liver. Most people are making the mistake of only healing their gut, changing their diet and doing probiotics. Yeah. But in the online course, I teach you how to heal your liver with lots of different remedies, including homeopathic remedies that really go deep into your liver and release, toxic burden and energetic stress on your liver that interferes with the way your cells detoxify.
What would you say some liver remedies that you recommend?
I like using bitter foods. Bitter foods stimulate bile flow. Yeah, rocket, arugula. In Indian culture, we have something called Karela. I think in English it's called bitter gourd. Dandelion. I'll prescribe milk thistle to some of my patients, depending on how I test them energetically. Then you have the cruciferous vegetables. That's like your broccoli, your cabbage, your Brussels sprouts. Yeah. They have sulforaphane. So your liver has many phases of detox. And different chemicals in different foods help different phases of detox. Remember, your liver is also releasing a lot of toxins. So it's exposed to a lot of oxidative damage from all those toxins. So you need to have a lot of antioxidants to combat the oxidative damage. Vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E. Yeah. The online course covers a lot of other remedies, of course, but those are the main ones I use. Sometimes I'll use alpha lipoic acid, depending. Some studies are showing that alpha lipoic acid aggravates some people who have a lot of heavy metals in them. I still have to do some research on that. So really work with a practitioner who can either, put you through some tests. I dowse, like I feel things energetically. So that helps me fine tune the exact remedies a person needs. And then, of course, I'll introduce homeopathic remedies for their emotions, their emotional trauma from the past, as well as certain homeopathic remedies for the liver as well, just to support a complete detoxification as well as an emotional release.
So would you also say that the emotional trauma work could support the liver, or the liver is specifically with what we consume?
No, emotional trauma affects the liver 100% in many ways. One, remember, emotional trauma affects mitochondrial function. Yeah. And if your mitochondria are not working well in your liver is going to be more sluggish. Stress goes directly to the liver. In Chinese medicine, most people are diagnosed with liver qi stagnation coming from chronic stress and chronic toxicity. And people who repress or hold back their anger a lot, that affects the liver a lot. Liver stagnation is often caused by repressed anger. And also people who have a lot of liver stagnation end up being angry a lot, but it's not healthily released. They're just irritable all the time and impatient because that's stuck anger. And sometimes that stuck anger is because of fear. Sometimes we get angry to protect ourselves because we're scared of something. So when you understand that anger is healthy, it's creating a boundary. Expressing anger or expressing aggression can actually be a healthy form of boundary. Then you're less ashamed about your anger, you're more comfortable with it, and then you're more self-secure and confident. So you collapse less into liver stagnation from imploded emotions. When you're stressed because of unresolved childhood traumas, of course, you're more prone to stress because your memory is all being triggered and you're feeling vulnerable and you're feeling overwhelmed, of course. You go into shallow breathing. And when you go into shallow breathing, basically you're only using the upper part of your lungs in a way. So you're not doing deep breathing, that nice, digestive breathing. And your diaphragm is not going up and down as well as it's supposed to be. So you're not massaging your liver because your diaphragm massages your liver and moves the lymph around there. And that's why stressed people get heartburn and ulcers because of the liver stagnation connection, right? So stress and trauma do affect the liver, for sure. Yeah. And also, when you're stressed and traumatized, there's this nerve called the vagus nerve, in charge of sending different signals to your digestive system, to your heart, to your liver, and if you're stressed and traumatized, the signals that your vagus nerve sends to all these organs is compensated, because it's preparing you to fight, to survive. So you're never really resting and digesting. You're never really in that parasympathetic state. So of course you're going to have liver stagnation. Of course you're going to have a cortisol imbalance and leaky gut. And that's why people who are stressed and traumatized, and when they face more stress, their eczema will flare up, or their asthma will get worse, or their arthritis will get worse, because of that cortisol imbalance and that excessive inflammation that goes on.
What would you say other modalities that you practice or in general recommend for people with MS to A, release trauma, and B, reverse their condition?
So I'll definitely say look for emotional healing that's cathartic, that really releases things viscerally from your system, where you can feel a shift in your body and your mind together, not just analysis therapy. I don't like those. So I like Gestalt if it's done safely. I like EMDR. I like family constellations. And of course, I use homeopathy as well to go really deep and heal those wounds as well. And those are some of the therapies I like. Things that shift your paradigm, not things that force you to control your mind and think, okay, I need to think positively, or I need to force myself to think differently. Not to poo-poo certain therapies, like CBT has helped a lot of people survive anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, etc. But some people who walk in the room after doing CBT, when they walk into the room, I find them a bit compensated or controlled. They're not getting in touch with that deep feeling and that rage where they really need to express and release or acknowledge what went missing for them during childhood. We need to go to that deep inner work, the constellation work, the trauma work. Some therapies like somatic experiencing are fantastic. They really get you to release a lot of pain from the nervous system and acknowledge your vulnerability, and give love to that part of you. So I like to combine those therapies. And then, of course, healing the gut, healing the liver, and sometimes supporting the adrenal glands, because the adrenal glands are often burnt out for a lot of people, because just burnt out from chronic inflammation and chronic stress. So the free videos on my website, they will introduce you to some of the protocols I use to heal the gut, the liver, the adrenal system. And also there's a very nice emotional healing exercise actually people can do to get more comfortable with their vulnerable part inside of them. Because sometimes we walk around with shame about our anger, about our fear, about our judgments. So we control our own emotions inside. So we are in an inner conflict based on society's expectations or what we assume society wants of us, and how we label our emotions. And there's a beautiful exercise there, which I've made for you, which will help you really kind of dance between feeling these feelings and not feeling these feelings, and suddenly feeling that there's no shame around some of these feelings. And then you can go deeper into your own essence and be really connected to your source energy and your authenticity.
I hope everybody is going to go on drameet.com and check the online course, because it just sounds absolutely incredible. Dr. Ameet, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. It's inspiring to listen to you. And I hope that he inspired you all to just take action right now, because your future is in your hands.
Thank you. Lots of love to everyone. Lots of love to yourselves as well, from yourself, and to your vulnerable parts from all of us. Love you lots. Ciao, ciao, and greetings from Kenya.